Joey Reese and Billy Boot Shop.
Next question we're gonna do. Chris Hockman asks, what were the best venues and the worst venues you've ever played at?
You go.
I'm going to say worst venues ever played at. This might be a cop, because here's the thing. Normally things that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you think this line of thinking is incorrect, but usually stuff that would normally make a place seem really bad is generally what makes it appealing and endures itself to you. So Joe Mocha's in Tampa.
Dude, for real. That place was so cool.
It was so hot. Like it was horrible. You didn't want to play it because it was so freaking hot.
And it was always overbooked.
Always overbooked, super hot. Wasn't that the club where it was attached to like a runaway kids shelter and like
it was like a soup kitchen and not a homeless shelter, but they had donations of like clothes and stuff in the back. And then during the day they would feed people.
Yeah, but
it was an old Chinese restaurant.
But I remember there were like, maybe this is another venue in Tampa, but I swear I remembered like kids that like thought they were vampires, like runaway kids would like help out. They'd run the concession stands and like Mocha Joe's would like give them a couple of bucks at the end of the night. They were able to like sleep backstage, so they kept them off the street. But in order to do that, they kind of had to work at the venue and earn their keep.
It's perfect.
Yeah, so like it's places like that were so weird that when you look, like when you're there, you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But now when you look back, you're like, no, that place was awesome.
Right.
So there's a lot of quote unquote bad venues that end up being awesome in hindsight. Because the really good places, like the places that you went to that was like the list of things that we say, these are the best ones. They're the best for reasons that you're going to find out. But if it was like you rolled into Peoria and you played at a club that was really nice and had great air conditioning and the food there was wonderful and the people there were like really nice and it was a good turnout for the show, you don't really remember those.
Yeah.
Like you really don't. It's the ones like the Mocha Joes or the Joe Mochas, whatever, and those ones that were kind of crazy. They had some sort of fear factor to them that you're like, that place was awesome.
So punk rock.
But if I had to say the worst ones, I do have to say I think the worst venues we played were the Holy Roller Tour. Playing
not built for it.
Yeah, playing roller skating rinks. So those of you that don't know, or the Insiders, 5-Iron Frenzy headlined it. It was 5-Iron, the W's, and then the Insiders, and I think Justin McRoberts, opened it. And so the four of us went around the country and we played roller skating rinks. And roller skating rinks, I don't know about you, but here in Michigan, roller skating rinks have made a comeback. And so Friday and Saturday nights, roller skating rinks are packed with like junior high kids and, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in roller rinks. A lot of birthday parties, like a lot of teenager birthday parties are like the in thing to do. And so we played all these roller skating rinks across the country. And if you came an hour early, you could skate with the band. And so members of 5-Iron, members of W's, members of Insiders, Justin McRoberts, everyone would be out roller skating or inlining around the rink, and the kids could do it. And then at
for
one
like
end,
the first couple shows, and then you're just like, I am not roller skating for
again
60 days.
Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing that sucked is the sound system wasn't set up for us. Like the acoustics aren't set up. So it's a roller skating rink.
Yeah, it was like Frank owned a PA, and it was relatively shitty that we would set up. And then whoever the poor sound guy, was it Fred or Sam?
Fred sounds. I think it was remember. Fred.
It was Fred. They would like we'd just plug everything in, and then he'd have to mix in this cavern basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything is just bouncing sound around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then there was like no green room, so you don't have a place to go like backstage. You don't. And then the other thing is roller skating rinks, at least in the men's room, they take all the doors off all the stalls because they don't want kids going in, like having sex in the stalls, doing drugs in the stalls. So they keep the stalls open. So every single day you're on the road and you're setting up and you got to go to the bathroom and you have to sit. This was every roller skating rink, every venue that we played on that tour, no doors on any of the stalls. So you're like, oh my gosh, so you got to take a poop. You can't, because you're like, I like remember one time I'm like sitting there taking a dump and like sang, our trombone player like walks in. He's like, oh, hey. And you're just like sitting there staring at the guy while you're taking a dump. It's the weirdest feeling in the world.
To take a dump.
Just being stared at.
Yeah.
So I think worst venue for me would be the roller skating rinks.
Huh.
Best venues. I think for me, it was really awesome we played some of the best on Ska Mania. So I think the Greek Amphitheater in LA, like that was awesome because it's like the place to play like in LA. So like that was cool. It was like the big concert place where, if Zach Brown comes to town or Aerosmith or whatever, like they play there.
Yeah.
So I think that was cool. Another one that I can never explain to people correctly, like you just can't understand it unless you're there, was Sloss Furnace Factory in Alabama. It was either Alabama or
Birmingham.
So Birmingham, Alabama. You guys, this was an old factory. It was an old steel mill in Alabama where they mined it and then they would ship it to the shipping yards that were off the coast of Alabama, and they would build battleships and all this stuff. Well, when the mines went empty or whatever, or that business there just shut down.
Or slaves were freed.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Yeah. They shut it all down and they made it a concert hall. So the green rooms, like all the dressing rooms, are down in the mines. So you go down the like stairs and stuff like that, you're down in the old mine shaft, and like that's where your dressing room is. And then where you play is where it's no longer there, it's been deconstructed, but where this giant like kiln, like the giant blast furnace that would melt the molten like ore and all that stuff, that's where the stage is. And so the way it's just set up, I mean, if you go on the internet, you can look it up and hopefully there's pictures of people have taken pictures of it. And it is one of the coolest things. And then all the old equipment, they have it almost like a garden. Like if you went somewhere and they had pillars and they had statues maybe in a courtyard, they have that. And it's all the old like mining equipment. So like there's mining buckets, there's old rusty tractors, there's, boilers and the buckets that held like the molten ore just like laying there, and they're all kind of like sculpture, like sitting there like art. And I always thought that place was great, and even right now I can't explain how cool it was.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I always thought was amazing was the Gorge. Playing the Gorge. Isn't that in Portland? Isn't that in Oregon, I mean?
Yeah, it's like on the...
Or is that in Washington?
It's in Washington, but it's kind of on the border, maybe.
Okay.
It's on the Columbia River.
Yeah.
Like western Washington towards Spokane.
And so you guys look that up on the internet too. So the Gorge it's a stage, it's a big amphitheater, and it's right on the edge of a canyon. And so everybody sits in kind of this like old Roman, like there's like bricks and stuff like in the hillside, like there's old like concrete blocks in the hillside, and people like sit on those, and then the stage is down, and then behind it is just a canyon. It's like the most beautiful, it's like a stage on the edge of the Grand Canyon is basically what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so that was rad too. So that was my best and worst as far as coolest places to play, without factoring in how great the show was, without factoring in promoters, without factoring in food or anything like that. Just venue for the venue. That would be my worst and best.
I need to say that Joe Mocha's, the last time I remember playing there, it was right before Cornerstone, and we were playing. It was like this 5-minute walk tour that Frank would put together. So it was, I don't think 7 Day was on the label anymore. So it was like Dinosaur Prophets, Black Guide, Siva, who I think at the time were Model Engine, us. There had to be some other band on there. The Electrics, maybe.
Oh yeah,
I think it was the Electrics. Guys. Yeah, and at Joe Mocha's, which literally was like a Chinese restaurant that they turned into this maybe homeless shelter. Definitely they fed homeless people. So you'd get there and they'd be like, hey, you can't unload until we feed all these people. Do you want to help out? And then you just be like part of a soup kitchen, which was so freaking like, all of a sudden your mind just shifted and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot we're a Christian band. Like,
yeah.
You're just like spending your whole day just worrying about what time are we going to get there? What are we going to eat? When do we set up? Where do we go for the hotels? And then like for us, we're driving to Cornerstone right after that. So from Tampa to the middle of Illinois, it was a good 18 hours. So we get there and they're just like, help us feed these dudes. And so we're like immediately kind of like, oh, yes, this is cool. And it was awesome. And then the show, so all the other guys in the other bands, they were older than us. Like the dudes in the Electrics, Black Guide Siva, we were like this young punk rock ska band. And they were very good at not showing us how much they resented the fact that we were more popular than them. They had a good reason to, because they were all super good bands. They were all good musicians, really good. And then here's us. We're just like, what is practice? You know, like this is 5 iron. So we're just like,
you're like, oh, we just sold 40,000 in merch. And they're like, you son of a.
Yeah, like the hardest thing I did was I jumped off the drum set without kicking over the kick drum. Like and they're just like, oh, I played a song in 7/8 time, you know. Like, so
like, what does that mean?
I don't know. So they're coming. We're backstage, and backstage was maybe air conditioned. Out front, it didn't matter because they put 400 people into like a venue that should have not held more than 120 people.
Right.
There was not enough ventilation and you couldn't get enough air in there.
No.
So they keep coming back, every band, and they're just like, oh my God, this is the worst show I've ever played. This sucks so bad. It's so hot out there. You can't breathe. So here we are. I'm like 22. You know, like we're just like, what? Crazy. Well, we're definitely more punk rock than these guys. So we're looking around and there's all these clothes that have been donated for the homeless. And I'm like, let's put this on. Let's put on as much clothes as we can and go
out. Of course.
There. So we put on everyone. Maybe Dennis didn't because he's wise. But the rest of us put on like 3 or 4 pairs of pants, a winter coat, a hat, a scarf, gloves, just an insane amount of clothes, which have to go to the homeless people. And we're just like,
in Florida. Like, does Florida ever need a winter coat, hat, and gloves?
Exactly. We're just helping out. We're just helping. So we get out there and we're just like, because we've heard for all 3 bands, they're just like, they're cutting their set short. And we're like, not us. We're going to go balls out. all the clothes on, get out there, and we're just like, I feel it. I'm like, I am gonna go insane. I am going to go so crazy. I get a concussion. And I remember the first song we're playing and just jumping around like crazy, just going insane. And we're all totally aware that it's like in a sauna. It's so hot, so humid. And then I just remember seeing, like, I was singing and I just saw like my field of vision, like all my peripheral vision start off. And I'm like,
it's like you're looking
oh.
through a tube of toilet paper tube.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm fainting. I'm fainting. Like, not feeling like, oh, this feels weird. I should slow down. Just like, we're like crazy, crazy. And all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm fainting right now. I just hang on to the microphone stand and I stop moving as much as possible and start singing like with as little effort as I possibly can. And then when like it started to pop out a little bit, like I'm getting enough oxygen, I'm not going to faint. I just slowly started peeling off the stuff. And I'm looking around and Andy is just like about to fall off his drum stool. And the other guys are just like bug-eyed, like, I'm going to die. This is insane. So we went about three songs peeling that stuff off, played 2 more songs, and then we're like, hey, everybody, let's go outside and cool off and get some more oxygen in here. And they actually did. Like, everybody went outside. We opened it up because there was no air. Like, there was no ventilation. So then everybody comes back in and we played maybe 5 more songs. It would like be looking at the set list and just being like, that song's not worth it. That song's not worth it. Let's go. That song.
Not worth it.
Yeah, we played like 10 songs. And then like, seriously, absolutely, by the second song, there was not a dry spot on your clothes. Like, you could just pee your pants on stage and no one would tell. You were just like I remember holding onto that mic stand and like I had to lean forward a little bit because I thought I was going to pass out. And it was just like a steady stream. Like I was in the shower of water just pouring off my nose, just sweating that much. And then instead of going to a hotel, we got in our van and drove to Cornerstone.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I just remember, like, my crotch, it was like itchy for like 2 weeks because I just sat there for like 18 hours in my pants that were just soaking wet from sweat. Insane. So that was
crotch rot
or the best show. Like, that was amazing. I would say for us, the worst shows were churches. We'd always get booked in churches, and it would be like, you know, you've talked about this before, like the bigger churches, the mega churches, they had money just to burn. So they'd call up your booking people. You know, for us, it was Frank Tate, and for you guys, it was Tim. And they'd be like, hey, how much would it cost to come play at Christ Redeemer Fellowship in Tulsa? And, you know, they'd be like, $30,000. Just trying to get them off your back. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like, this will pay all our bills forever.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then you end up playing some church where there's not a stage. There's like the steps that go up. It's carpet. You know, the acoustics suck balls. And then you're just like.
Baptismal pool.
Uh-huh. And people, there's like all the people from the church that are like, when are you going to give your altar call? What time should we schedule that? And you're like, we don't do that. You do that. You're the church. We're going to play some songs. We're here to play rock. You know, you just do that. Or, you know, like they're just like, we don't want kids dancing here. You know, and 5-iron we're like, hey, everybody, let's see your jazzercise moves. Everybody exercising. And they're just like, oh, hell, you have brought hell into our church. We're all going down. Yeah. So I hated those shows more than anything. The worst ever show, we played Acquire the Fire in Sacramento. It's our one and only time to play Acquire the Fire. And if you listen to the Roper album, there's a song called Day of Pigs, and it is about that.
Oh,
so
really?
we get, they're like, we go backstage, like whoever is out front preaching, and they're just like, hey, we're really glad you guys are here. Can you not wear secular band t-shirts? And like, I think I had a Weezer shirt on. Scott maybe had a NoFX shirt. And they're like, can you not do that? And Frank came up with us because, like 5 Minute Walk was in Concord, California, which was maybe an hour and a half away from Sacramento. So he came. And Frank just goes, oh, okay, I'll tell everybody. And we're listening to this conversation. He's like, hey, they kind of want you to wear a hat. Brad had green hair to cover up your green hair. And can you guys, and he's like, they want you to take off your secular band t-shirts. And Frank's like, so we're leaving. And for some reason I was like, okay, can we pray about it? Can we just see? So we literally just stopped. We prayed about it. And meanwhile, like while we're praying, we hear these guys out front, and they had a coffin. It was a coffin on a gurney or something, like on wheels. And they're going around and they're telling everybody, if you have secular albums, if you have condoms or drugs, or, like anything that is causing you to be separated from Jesus, throw it in here, and we're saying goodbye to this stuff. Throw away your secular albums and your t-shirts and your piercings and all this shit. And we're hearing this. Meanwhile, like I've got a lip ring. Keith's got eyebrow ring. I got my Weezer shirt, NoFX shirt. Brad's got green hair. And we're just like, oh, they were like mad about backwards baseball caps, which is just like, this is there's worse things that the church has done.
Yeah.
But, like definitely worse. We've killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
We have oppressed a lot of people for being brown. And fuck that. But like, this is us as Five Iron, and we're just like, oh my God. And Frank is like, we're leaving. So we prayed, and for some reason, I believe it was the Holy Spirit, a couple of us like, I think we should stay. And we were like, okay. Brad puts on a hat. I think I took out my lip ring, and we turned our shirts inside out, and we played for about a half hour. And a couple times we're just, I don't know if we flat out said like, hey, we don't care about what you listen to or, where you're at. What if you're afraid of having colored hair or you like secular bands or whatever? God loves you anyway. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Said that, not just insinuated it. And then immediately after the show, did not talk to any of the organizers, went outside because we're just like, this is disgusting. Went outside, and there had to be 100 kids out there smoking. Just like, I can't go in there. Like, they got drugged there by their youth group or whatever, and they're like, hey, thanks so much for playing. This is the best part of this. And we had just like good conversations with them, just good, like, hey man, this is not Christ. This is not real. Sorry. And then the coolest thing was, this kid was like, hey man, can you give me a ride back? I got to get back to the East Bay. I live there. And we're like, yeah, man, we got space in the van. Come on. So the kid jumps in. He's coming with us. And so we just start talking to him about stuff. He's like, we're asking him what bands he likes and stuff. He notices that I'm reading the Keith Green autobiography or biography. His wife wrote it. No Compromise, which I recommend anybody listening. You should check it out. It's really good. He sees me reading it or that I have it, and he's like, "Oh, that's so cool, man. That's my dad." Yeah. So
What?
yeah. So like you all should read it. I mean, Keith Green was an incredible person and really cool musician, great dude. And in the midst of reading this, it was my third time reading it. All of a sudden, this guy's kid is in our van, and he's a fan of Five Iron, and it like of all that, it just kind of solidified that day had meaning. You know, that worst show that we had ever had.
Yeah.
It's something. And so cool, man. It was really cool.
Yeah.
That's the worst show. Best shows ever. Best place to play was Cornerstone Encore stage. It was insane. Did you guys ever play the Encore stage?
Yes, we played it once.
Because it started at 10 and they really didn't care if you stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was kind of frowned on if you were still playing at 2 a.m. because people were trying to sleep.
Yeah.
But I mean, what can you do in 4 hours? Like for Five Iron, we just like play an enormous set. We let Switchfoot come in and play in the middle of our set, and then we sang praise songs and just did like praise and worship for like 2 hours. 2 hours of like the most heartfelt, just like climbing out in the crowd and singing worship songs. Such a cool thing. It was the coolest. I want to say it was like 99, summer 99 when we played. That was my favorite show ever. But I think we played the Encore stage twice. And
Okay.
just the best. Yeah.
Cornerstone was always so rad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could do a whole show just on Cornerstone. I think we did do a whole show on Cornerstone.
Good. We could do another whole show on it.
Joey Reese and Billy Boot Shop.
All right, next up, this next question we have is from Daniel Rock, the guy who created the Pickle and Boot diabolical discussion page. Great dude, super nice guy. It's always nice when you meet people in life through different things. So by doing this podcast, we've been able to meet and connect with people that I wouldn't have connected with before. And Daniel is one of those people that, even though we've only connected through Instagram or Facebook, and he was on the Zoom call, it's almost like one of those people where you're like, oh, you know what? If he comes into town, I'm going to meet up with this guy. Or if I'm passing through his town, I'm sure he'd meet up with me and grab a beer or something like that. So it's nice how you meet up with people. Daniel seems like one of those guys. He asks me, how did we get Royce Nunley from the Suicide Machines to play in the Insiders? And was he on board with the message that we gave, or was he just a fill-in as a friend, like in a friendship role?
That's a wonderful question.
Yeah. So the way that we got Royce was we had a fill-in. Once the Insiders kind of stopped doing full-time, all of our horn players like either moved back to Chicago or to Grand Rapids. And so locally we had one of the trumpet players from Buck that would play with us, or trombone players from Buck. The Reynolds brothers, we had Al Brown came back. This guy, Steve Kachkowski, who has done horns for the Suicide Machines, done horns for a bunch of the local bands. Telegraph is another kind of big local ska band. He's played in I think he's filled in Mustard Plug, things like that. So anyway, so when we were looking to record, these fellas that knew the Suicide Machines knew that Royce Nunley had a studio and in his basement. And they were like, hey, Royce has this new studio. He's, getting into, doing this type of stuff. Maybe we could get in there. And so because we had a friend connection there, we ended up in Royce's studio, met him, hit it off with him. We were able to chit chat about stuff with him while we're in the studio.
Yeah.
Just had a good time with him and got to know him. And then from that, we started booking shows. And we just asked Royce. We said, I mean, he played bass, in the Suicide Machines. Then he started doing producing, and he started another band called Blueprint 76. And he played guitar in Blueprint. And then he had another dude, I believe that guy's name was Dan, who played bass. So we went out and we played a bunch of shows for the Soundtrack to a Revolution album. And Royce played guitar on that because he knew the songs from the studio, had become friends with us at that point. And then Dan would come in. I want to say the guy's name was like Dan Power or something like that. Dan Powers. He came in and played bass with us. And as far as I know, they weren't Christian guys. They weren't pro, they weren't against religion, anything like that. They just loved music and they just loved playing music. So they came out and helped us on Royce probably played, I would say, a dozen, maybe 15 shows with us. And then Dan probably played like maybe 5 with us. And then we got Miller time. John Miller, who plays with us all the time now. So if we were to do a show now, our bass player would be John Miller. So that is
when you do a show.
Yeah,
it's coming.
I doubt it.
Come on,
doubt it. I'm telling you, I think the only way the Insiders would do a show is it would be a show. It would either have to be big. So if somebody is out there like, hey, we're going to give you, if there's 10 guys in the band, or no, there's not 10. So if there's 6 guys in the band, we're giving each guy $2,000. So it's going to be $12,000 for the Insiders to come and play. Each guy gets $2,000. Like, it's that type of thing where I can't spend my weekend to play for $250 anymore. Like when I get my cut at the end of the weekend, and I gave up an entire weekend of being with my kids or doing things for $250, it's not worth it. So it would have to be a large sum, or not a large sum of money, but if somebody came to town, and wanted to play. It was funny because a story that you brought up, it made me think about it when you were talking about doing the soup kitchen for Joe Mocha's, and you're like, wait a second, we're a Christian band, we should probably be doing this stuff. Owl City played Detroit, and when Owl City played Detroit, they called ahead. So every place on their tour that they played, nonchalant, didn't make a big deal of it. They would go and do stuff. They would work at a soup kitchen. They would yeah. So
are you kidding?
Dead serious. Like, they didn't put it out in the press or anything like that. But the guys from Owl City would go in each city that they played in. They would go to a Salvation Army. They would go to a soup kitchen. They would go to a thrift store, a food pantry, and pack food boxes. They would do that stuff, and then they would play the show that night. So when they came to Detroit, they had called the Salvation Army, and they were like, hey, can we pack food boxes for you? So they show up they sent them to the Royal Oak Salvation Army. And the guy from Owl City, like the head guy, I forget his name now, but like the dude that is basically Owl City,
he was like Royce Nunley.
Yes. He was like, Royal Oak, aren't the Insiders from here? And they were like, yeah, in fact, a couple of them go to this church. And he's like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, the lead singer goes here. So I happened to be off work that day. I get a phone call, and one of my friends that was working up there is like, hey, the guys from Owl City are here. They want to meet you. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah. So I go up and meet them, and they're like, man, we would go to your shows. We'd listen to your music, all that stuff, like before the dude was Owl City. And I like packed food boxes with him for probably an hour. We like shot the breeze.
Madness.
Yeah, I shot the breeze, and then he put me on his guest list for the show that night. He was like, yeah, I'll get you on the guest list, all this stuff. I was like, cool. I go to the show, wasn't on the guest list. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, that sucks. And so I ended up getting in with a pass that somebody else had given me. But yeah, because I was like, man, I'm already here. I don't want to turn around and leave. And so
did you bring your kids?
No, it was just me. But my kids love Owl City.
Yeah, mine too. If I showed up with that, I'd just be like, all right, kids, we're going to walk into traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're not on the guest list.
Yeah, let's just end
It's
it.
over.
Yeah, so that was that. So that was a little story that I forgot to say, but I forget. I think I finished the story about Royce and them. So I think that's that. All right, next question, you guys. Wesley Johnson. Okay, I guess this is another question for me. Sorry about that. I've done two for me in a row, but this is a quick one. Wesley Johnson asks, do I know Kristen Bell? So Kristen Bell, who's married to Dax Shepard, who is Veronica Mars, who was in one of my favorite comedy movies of all time, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Kristen
Kristen Bell.
Other favorite movie, Frozen.
Yes. Oh, yeah. She wasn't Frozen. So Kristen Bell, do I know her? No, I don't. I don't think she's from my hometown of Royal Oak. She went to a high school here in Royal Oak, a Catholic school called Shrine High School. And she went there, and as did the skinny guy from Key and Peele. He went there too. Key, right? That would be Key. And so those two went there. And what's cool about Shrine is when you go in there, and I'm actually there often. My job takes me there. They have all the graduating classes from the time the school opened.
Yeah.
Like, 18, not 18, but like 1935 all the way to last year. All the graduating classes are up on the thing, so you can look for them. And then you see like Kristen Bell in like her like high school graduation photo, or you see that guy Key, and he's up there, and people like that. So do I know her? No, but she did go to high school here, and I don't know, kind of talk about her. She gets every now and then you read that she's in town for something. Her and Dax Shepard, they come to Michigan often. They're very like grounded people, and they're very Hollywood, but they're also just very normal from what I hear. I've never hung out with them, don't know them personally, but I do hear that they come back a lot and they just do normal stuff. So
they should hang out with you, Joe.
They should. I think I need to be the guy that when people are like, they come to Michigan, they're like, hey, where's this pickle and boot guy? Like, I think we need to at least go grab a beer with him, or a Reuben.
Where's the host of the podcast that is just below mine, Armchair Expert?
Yeah.
It's Joe.
Yeah.
He is the host.
Exactly.
We're both from Detroit. Let's hang out. Dax Shepard. I think what's been going around in my head while you're saying this is like, people are probably just like, Kristen Bell, would you have relations with her?
Right.
She's hot, but like I would pick Dax Shepard over her. Like, I would have relations with him immediately.
See, I always refer to Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and I would pick Mila Kunis. Circa Forgetting Sarah Marshall over Kristen Bell. Now, Mila in other stuff, maybe not. But in that one, she's
the Book of Eli.
Book of Eli? With Denzel Washington?
Yeah, I'd pick Denzel Washington.
Over Mila? Yeah.
Yeah.
In that one, I would, definitely. I would pick Denzel over most anybody.
I'm not gay, but you gotta have a line, and that right there, Denzel Washington and Dax Shepard, they're over the line.
Yeah.
I hated that moment.
Yeah. All right. This next one is for you, because I think you can explain it best more than me.
I'm ready.
Okay. Take as much time as you need to explain this. So Philip Hunicki.
Sounds made up.
Yep. He wants clarification on understanding our phrase that we used one week when we talk about being screwed over by a promoter, like what that means. Then the second part, so he wants you to explain more, help him understand what being screwed over by a promoter means. And the second part of the question is, he asks, are there consequences for promoters that do this? i.e., do you ever work with them again? Are they blacklisted? What happens to promoters that screw over bands? So what does screwed over by the promoter really mean, and are there consequences?
Yeah. screwed over by the promoter, it takes many forms. So there's all kinds of things. Like promoters, it's a hard job. Let's just say that. And there's lots of good promoters. But sometimes they'll say, so a promoter's job is just that. It's to promote. They they book the show, so they'll find the venue. They make sure it has all the things that are in your rider, which is like, we need this for sound. The drummer has to have this wedge. We need side fills. There has to be this much power. We need microphones here. Normally it's stuff like that. And then you put in things in your rider about, we had talked about this before, like you guys had dinner requests and stuff. I think we do that now. We asked for like a local beer. We asked for Fireball because I need it. And the other, I need it.
Yeah.
If I don't drink it, I start shaking.
Yeah.
And I have
then
hallucinations.
Then you get very angry with your bandmates.
Yeah. Sometimes they try and take it from me.
And you're like, will you knock it off? I could quit whenever I want.
I can stop.
I can stop.
Todd,
you better give me that. I'm not ready to stop now, but I can stop whenever I want.
This is my baby. Don't take the baby. I say that. But that's what a promoter does, is they like book a band at a place, and sometimes you get screwed over. Like they'll say, this is your guarantee. Most bands, like after a while, you can ask for like money up front. You get like half paid, and then if the show falls through, you still get that. Like there's a hurricane or whatever. I don't know. It's a lot of lawyering and contracts, but generally when you get screwed over, it's the promoter lying about how many people came to the show, and they're like, yeah, we didn't make what we said we'd do at the door, so here's this much. And then you've been looking out, and also you're you're pretty advanced form of an ape, so you can count, and you're like there's a lot more people here than you said, because it went all the way to the back. That kind of thing. Yeah. So they'll say things like that, and then you tell your guy that books you. You're just like, that guy did this, and then they won't book with them again.
Yeah. And Philip, another thing is sometimes promoters have really good intentions, but back in the day, like there was no internet really. There was none of that stuff. No message boards, no Facebook events, things of that nature. And so what would happen back in the day is you'd have some college kid, or you know what, let's not do it that way. You'd have some youth pastor, and some youth pastor would say, hey, we have $2,000 in our youth account. We could take that $2,000. I could rent a PA system for $500. We can use the church chapel for free, and we get a couple of hotel rooms and some food. So we have $2,000 in our account. We're going to spend $1,000. But here's the thing. We think we could get 2,000 kids to show up, and we'll charge $10 per kid. So $2,000, 2,000 kids times $10, that's $20,000. So these promoters that were usually like youth pastors would say, I could take $1,000 and I could turn it into $20,000. How easy is that? But because they're not plugged into any of the things that they needed to be plugged into at the time, they didn't know what they were doing. What they would do is they would book the insiders, they would book 5-Iron. Then they would put like a flyer up at the local Christian bookstores. They'd send a flyer to some of the local churches, and that was all they did. That was it. And so what ended up happening is they would expect 2,000 people to come, and because they didn't promote it, they didn't put it on, the radio, they weren't out like hitting the pavement, they weren't doing those things that they needed to do as a promoter. Then what would happen is you'd have 300 kids show up. And so you'd have 300 kids show up, and then you have, $10 a head. Now, yes, you're still making $3,000, but you're not making the $20,000 that you thought you would make, or their overhead. They thought that they were going to be making such and such. So they got a bigger PA system. They got more food. They had help here, help there, all these different things. Maybe they brought in other bands. And then the insiders say, like, we're like, yeah, well, we get $6,000 for the show. So now they thought they were going to make $20,000, paying the insiders, doing all that stuff. Now they're stuck with $3,000, and that's it. And so a lot of times it wasn't necessarily somebody like setting out to screw a band. It's they vastly didn't realize what ended up going into being a promoter. And so the promoters that are out there that book clubs and stuff like that do it well. Back in the day, it was Edan Productions in Chicago. That was top notch. Those guys did a phenomenal job. Tim Tabor out in California, top notch promoter, stuff like that. Reese, who else is like a promoter that you can think about? The one that we talk about down in Jacksonville,
Tony Weatherly.
Tony Weatherly was great here in Detroit, but who was the guy down in Jacksonville?
Tony Nazarella.
That was it. That he did the Mars Theater or something like that. What was that called?
Murray Hill Theater.
Murray Hill Theater. So
Perfect.
like promoters like that were freaking fantastic. And then some just thought, hey, why doesn't everyone do this? Like, this is an easy cash grab. We're going to make $20,000 on this. And then it turns into, no, you made $3,000, but you owe the insiders $6,000. You owe this band $1,000. You owe this band $1,000.
Or what's worse is you think you're doing the Lord's work. You're like, if I take this step of faith, God will provide and people will show up. And it doesn't
work like that. Doesn't work like that.
It does. Sometimes you got to figure out that that's not God talking to you.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're praying that God sends 2,000 people, like, you have to do something. You can't just pray that God speaks to 2,000 people in their sleep and says, hey, on September 10th, be it this theater, excuse me, I'm burping. On September 10th, be at this theater, doors open at 5:00. Jesus doesn't do that. Like, as a promoter, you have to be out there. You have to be putting stuff on the radio. You have to be, advertising. You have to be doing all that stuff. And that's what those promoters didn't do. Now, the backlash is, there's not a whole lot you can do. People don't take promoters to court and things like that. That's when you get into big things, like when you're bringing in, big
Guns N'
bands.
Roses.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses, those types of things. There's legal issues. When you're on our end, you just end up getting what we call, back to the original thing, screwed by the promoter, and you don't get your money. You played a show basically for free. They got all the money. You don't get anything. And then you just tell your manager, we're not ever doing anything with that guy again. But usually what happens is that guy's not going to do anything ever again, because promoters that have done other shows know what goes into it and know that it's not just you wave a magic wand and you get all these thousands of dollars and you come out in the green. Doesn't work like that. So that's why not everybody is a promoter. If it were that easy, everybody would do it. So it's not. And you kind of do the thing like, well, we're not going to do any shows for them anymore. But usually that doesn't matter anyway, because that person's like, oh my gosh, I'm never doing another show again. Like, that didn't work. And then it doesn't work out. So,
which may be a good decision.
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
do another show again.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You should be an electrician.
Joey Reese.